Good evening, YouTube. Once again, it's Jo here with Kambio for the People, where we build a fully automated, AI-based stock options trading system. Every day, we place trades with our AI agent CARA, then we debrief with Claude to analyze the session. Super raw and in the open for all of you to see. Nothing discussed is financial advice and is for educational and entertainment purposes only. Welcome back, and let's dive into the debrief with Claude. If you haven't seen the episode from this morning, please go back and watch that. And let's get into it. So, um, yeah. So this morning we had a pretty interesting trade. I thought we uh, had a couple bumps, so I wanted to dig in and let's see what Claude came up with. We ended up trading UPS, but as you know, you may recall, the trade was pretty light. Look at that 105 credit. The deltas were all over the place, like they weren't even in order. So it was not the best trade that the system could have selected. Um, so we'll see what Claude has to say about it. It's a marginal day, right? So a couple things that well, we had to establish first, like did it fill and all this stuff. So I ended up sending the fill information, and yeah. So where is that? Yep, it filled. So I sent Cara that information, whatever. Yep. So it's asking if I filled. And then I told it a couple different things, right? So I told it like I didn't really feel confident about the trade today, and I was talking about it was a low credit trade, it's a weird chain, liquidity is sporadic, specific strikes, and honestly, I would have liked a wider short spread, which is pretty true because I like to have much more distance between the strikes, like so, like this Bollinger Band is really wide, but I think our trade this is a different thing. But let me see, US EPS. So yeah, I mean this is pretty narrow as it is, but I think we're at what 100, so we're like right here, and then 115. So I would have liked to be all the way at 195, but the liquidity just wasn't there. So I mean that's what I'm saying is like this trade isn't my favorite, you know. So we did it anyway, just to kind of see how it's going to perform, and then it also gives us an opportunity to practice more mitigation steps, remediation. I mean, yeah, let's kind of get into what we found here. So he's just talking about, one milestone is that our engine actually matched the broker now. So the deltas matched what Thinkorswim had versus what we calculated based on Yahoo data. So that's actually a win. We fixed that last night, and we got we it was a successful fix that we confirmed today. So that's awesome. So next thing, it's identifying this composite score that we built in. So I think that was maybe last night or the night before. I think it was actually. So we decided to make some sort of composite score that basically says, okay, out of all the trades that we're actually like exploring options chains on, let's come up with a scoring system that says which of these trades is going to make us the most money per day that we hold it. And that's kind of like how we're going to score them moving forward. So there's a series of checks and then composite score like this, point four. So what it's saying is that um, I told Claude a couple different things. Like, we could have passed today and just had a zero, a no trade day, or we actually have sibling strategies. So our primary strategy is an Iron Condor. If we don't find a trade there, we automatically skip to a bull put spread strategy. And if there's no trades there, then we look at a bear call spread strategy. So we haven't gotten a chance to see those yet, but potentially we will, especially with this new mechanism that we're adding here. You'll see in a little bit what I'm saying. So then the wider short spread, we talked about that already. And then also, I didn't really like UPS just because I felt like it was uptrending a little bit, and the trade's not going to last long. I don't think it's going to stay valid for very long. We're going to have to pull that or exit that pretty soon. Probably on the call side. I can't remember what it looks like, but yeah. So most likely on the call side. We'll see. We'll see. Hopefully it just oscillates and we're good to go. But we'll see how that goes. So and then I sent Claude a series of, so basically like we have this system right here. It's we use linear for our project management system, and Claude posts linear issues, and I have a couple other agents that I actually work with as well. So you can see these. CARA is actually a project management agent, so she manages the tasks that go into our project management system, and she fills them out, and gives it WSGF. We use Agile, and then I have an architect, and he basically says, give me the linear issue and let me put some understand the requirements, and then build some architecture around it, and then I get a chance to confirm, and then we have an actual coding agent that this guy writes code, so based off of the architect's architecture, takes it, writes it, and so this is for basically like building a system that is able to write code and build itself, this system itself, so we can add linear issues, refine them. Each step of the way, I have some sort of output that I can look at and manipulate it, and then pass it on to the next step, and then the system can actually build itself. So that's what's in the works. This coding guy is not like quite to the point where I want it yet, so I don't use it too much. I just use Claude directly, so that's why you see us in here. But anyways, where was I? Let's go back to this. Oh, so so the linear issues. So we already have a wider S2S variance logged as this issue. So that's already logged in the books for the project management system. So we're gonna take a look at that later. But so Claude was talking about a no trade quality floor. So that is actually an amazing idea. So what he's basically saying is that whenever we have a composite below a certain value, because this is like barely scoring high enough to be a valid condor. So whenever we see that, we can have some sort of floor that says, okay, this is not a valid trade. So instead of UPS coming back today as our best trade, we would have got, okay, no condor trade today, and I could have just had it forward to the bull put spread strategy instead. So we could have checked those other sibling strategies and possibly found a better trade for the day. So yeah, so I love that idea. And then I also mentioned a bunch of things about the actions today. So we talked about the BKR situation today. I still think it's DTE 85. When we actually closed those 85 legs, the system didn't see it. So that was an issue. And also that it's just saying event risk. It doesn't even give any other additional information. What we want is these actions today to be very precise and decisive. Take this action today. Like, no, I don't, we shouldn't have to say, what is this trying to tell me? And like do a bunch of exploration to try to find out, okay, how do we remediate this? So same thing with BKNG, like approaching short call. Okay, but what do you want us to do? So, we want the system to be like, you're approaching the short call, you need to flat exit on the call side, right? So it needs to analyze, it needs to assess and say, is the flat exit the proper strategy, or should we do a roll out and roll down and out, or that's the call side, so roll up and out, right? And it should analyze the options chains to let us know, okay, number one, is there liquidity to make that sort of move, and number two, what does the P&L look like for each of those moves? And then number three, we decide, okay, out of that research, what is the proper action to take? So that's something that we still need to build into the system, but it's on the books, and it's kind of like being documented now, so we're looking at it. So that, and then AMT, we had a lot of it. This is a 2-day hold, right? So we've only had this for 2 days, and it's already in exit mode because I don't think it was a good trade to begin with, to be honest. But so we have to explore, okay, why did we select this trade in the first place? And the short answer is that it was based off of invalid delta calculations, inaccurate delta calculations. So that's why we placed it, and we ended up having to remediate it. But all that being said, the gap up logic is needs some work right there, and this just says exit, right? So it's like exit, but there's no real P&L of like, okay, we gapped up, so our call side is in danger. Or I don't know, this one might have been the other way, actually. It doesn't matter. Let me see, AMT, just to be accurate. want to say this was going down. Yeah, so this was the one that's like going down pretty bad. So our put side was in danger, but we could have just did a flat exit on the put and then kept the call on top. And would that have net us more profit? We would have to do those calculations manually, but we want the system to do that for us and say, okay, if you flat exit, here's this P&L. If you close the entire trade, here's the P&L. So and then make a decision that says this is the proper move, right? So keep in mind, eventually this system needs to be automated, and it's going to be doing these actions by itself. Right now we're doing it manually because we're vetting the system, we're validating, like when it says here, this is a choice, okay, is that actually the good choice, right? So we're in that kind of mode. But come 3 months, 6 months from now, we should see this system go, placing the trades already, and then we're just going to confirm on the back end what, if it was the right move. We can still remediate after the fact if we see that something went wrong, right? But so that's kind of where we're going. Hopefully you guys are along for the ride, right? So, all right, so basically we filed the 2 tasks. The 169 is for the no trade quality floor, so that's the composite score. Whatever's lower than the composite score gets invalidated as the best trade. And then we got the 170, which is the decisive actions, like, hey, I need you to do this P&L and then tell us exactly what to do, right? So and then 165 was already existed for the wider spread, short to short spread. Yep, so it says, yeah, so looking at the BKR now, so it's actually like analyzing the logs. So it has access to the database, it has access to the logs, it has access to the conversations, and it can just go through and say, okay, this is actually what happened. So it did validate the BKR, the 85 DTE close did not actually log properly. So there's some confusion because that one already rolled down and out. So what happens is you've got 4 legs in the initial condor, and then we basically close these 2 by opening another a mirror image of those, and then we placed 2 more underneath it. So now you've got a series of 8 legs, and the system has to reference each one. So the 2 that close these 2 that close these 2 have to reference each other, and then these are new, and then now we close those, so these have to mirror and then reference those. So there was kind of a structural issue there. So the system was getting confused, and so now we're able to find that issue and then mitigate it. So obviously Claude knows how to take the issue. I can pass in the actuals of what happened, the transaction log stuff, and then it's like it can reconstruct the data and update it so it's listed properly, referenced properly. But then we also need to mitigate this, or like update the system so that it actually logs it properly in the first place. So there's that. Let's see. So yeah, so it's asking me for the information, and then okay, so that's kind of the situation with BKR. Now it's moving on onto AMT. It did actually log it, and it gave the P&L here. So yeah, so as far as like flat exit versus full exit, I'm not going to read this whole thing, but yeah, so we definitely sold the safe put spread. Full close, bought back the safe put spread to a wasted 10 cents per share debit. Gave up the put side's share of the credit, right? So yeah, actually, I think the call side was actually the safe one, right? So call side was safe, yeah. So anyways, yeah. So basically, a flat exit, we would have just been left with the call side only, and then let that expire worthless. We would have retained some of that premium that we got already, and then we probably would have got, well, we would have lost less, right? We would have lost like $150 to $200 less, right? So which is good. So we would have been at maybe a negative 500 instead, which is good because we want to try to retain as much cash as possible. The idea is with these trades, we have a max loss buffer. So, and that's 5% of the account. So whatever your account size is, let's say it's like, 6,000, that means 5% of that is $300. So $300 is the max loss trade that you can do, and then whatever your earning potential are based on that. But you got 20 chances. So there's a study from Tasty Trades, I believe it is, and they talk about the probability of losing 20 consecutive times, and it's just like astronomical. Like if you have 20 different uh, uh, trades, or you're diversified 20x, right? Your probability of losing everything is pretty low. So that's kind of like the idea there. Let's see what else. What are we talking about here? So selection postmortem. Yeah, so it's just saying that the deltas were not correct. So we're just gonna basically chalk that up to, yeah, just already being the delta bug being already fixed. So we're just gonna chalk that up as a loss that be due to the wrong math there. But yeah, so I'm talking about how he's going to log it, and we're talking about the structure, the leg structure, and it logged properly, so everything's good. And then the delta bug, and then yeah, so validate each step. Okay, so that's, I was telling him something different here, like next steps. So like not necessarily on this video, but when we have like a lull in debrief feedback, then we can go through each step of the selection process. So this is what I'm talking about here. So when CARA takes, so each one of these is a step, right? So discovery, then you've got the universe, then you've got the active trait. So each one of these represents one step. So we'll go through, like I'll keep saying that, oh, I gotta validate this one. We'll go through every step, and we'll say, okay, is this actually filtering the right things, right? Is it accurate in what it's doing? Like, are these numbers all accurate? So right now we're trusting a lot, but math is math. The math is there, so hopefully it's accurate. And we'll keep looking at the results of the trades, and if something is inaccurate, then it's probably going to show up in the results. So we'll keep going with that. So that's what I was telling Claude. Like later, we'll go ahead and go through each step and validate. So that's him saying like that's how we caught the normal CDF bug for the deltas, which is true. Yeah, so issue. So now we're gonna explore explore the logging issue, and then we're gonna do the no floor trade. So basically, we don't necessarily need to read all this, but that's basically what we found. And then you can see kind of like the process of do a trade, do some discovery, what went wrong, what went right. What did we find? What can we tweak? All that stuff. And then like go gather some information to validate our hypothesis. So I think that's what we're doing here. So this one's talking about, oh yeah. So this one is like CARA basically, because I was telling you in the last video that CARA basically uses Haiku, which is like the lowest, cheapest Claude model. And it's because like if you just send something like, oh hey CARA, right, you don't want that to use Sonnet or even Opus for that matter. You want it to use something that's very, very simple, very cheap. I think it's like you can have like 10,000 request turns for like 1 penny or something, or I don't know, like $1 or something like that. It's super, super, super cheap. So every conversational turn is processed by Haiku, and then Haiku is smart enough to say, okay, are you requesting some sort of tool that we've already set up? It's got a series of tools that we set up. Amongst all of those agents, there's probably, I don't know, 40 different tools. They can save files, they can read files, they can parse this images, they can save images, they can stuff like that. They can write linear issues, they can read linear issues, all these kind of things, right? So Haiku's smart enough to say, okay, are you asking me to use one of these tools, right? So you think of CARA as like this router system. Like, okay, I say, hey, CARA, we're trying to do our daily trade. Here's the TOS scan results, right? And she's supposed to be like, all right, well, you're trying to do the daily trade. I need to pass that to this tool and pass in the pasted in image, right? So it's like a routing system. And then from inside there, the daily trade tool has a series of steps that need to be taken, and that's what you see the output for in Slack. So yeah, so that was kind of a long way to say that CARA is basically hallucinating. So as she was saying, like, oh, we logged the target flat exit, right? She's actually just, she's just making that up. She's just hallucinating because Haiku just has a tendency to hallucinate. Um, she, I, so this is indicating that when we gave some sort of instruction, she didn't match that to a tool. And instead, she tried to process it directly herself with Haiku, and Haiku failed and hallucinated. Basically, that's what happened with the three different, um, yeah, so three different exits. So yeah, so three management rights in a row that didn't persist. So that's what we're looking at here. Yeah, so she basically just made stuff up. So there's a fix that this verified write back. So this Claude's talking about how we can fix this, and it's basically saying, okay, well, if you if you say that you wrote something, okay, now you got to actually read it back, and then the read back is what actually does the log. Hey, I logged this, or like that's kind of the idea, but it still doesn't mean that, because even like directing Kara using telling her, hey, you got it whenever you say you log something, you gotta do a read back, right? Or you gotta verify that you wrote it by reading it. That's still prompt based. So is Haiku gonna be smart enough to pick that up and remember, hey, I gotta go read it back? So we'll see, we'll see. So we try to hand it off to tools as much as possible, so because that way we can control the model, number one, and then number two, a lot of it is plain code, so we don't even rely on the LLM as much as you might think. So as long as the LLM routes properly, then all the right code gets hit, and we can make decisions. If Sonnet has to make like look at some sort of data context and make a choice. Here, this is the information, these are all the scores. Okay, now make a choice, which one's the best one. So that's like something that we can actually auto elevate the model and then pass the results back to CARA. All CARA has to do is say, hey, these are the results. That's it. So it's like a routing system. Yeah, so that's that. And then, so yeah, so we're talking about the composite score. And this is basically working on the floor. Yeah, so no trade floor. So this is, we're basically getting into Claude actually like doing the work now. So he's basically updating, here I'm updating this file, I'm changing that file, blah, 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 and Claude doesn't ever, well, not ever, but usually, anything that we try to write against the system always goes to a PR, so I can validate it. So he basically wrote this PR right here, so no trade quality, and then I can actually go look at the code and make sure it's what it needs to be. And a lot of times I've found, actually, you can see. Let me see. Right before I go, oh no, sorry, I wasn't paying attention while you were building, right? So because what Claude built was a bunch of separate methods that Claude likes to write functionally. So that means, a lot of people aren't programmers. So like, if you write one file that has a big list of commands, like here, do this first, then that, then this, then okay, if this, then do that, right? So that's like one way to write. It's called functional. But I like to write in a more object-oriented fashion, just because my first language is C++ and all that stuff. So I like object-oriented kind of code structure, architecture. Like when I say, um, Claude just wrote a function. Okay, check if the composite is, where is it? Let me be specific so that I don't say this wrong. No trade floor quality. So yeah, so basically made a helper method called below quality floor, and then added those helper methods to the other the other steps that already existed. So the way that we process each trade strategy is the strategies have a pipeline, and it says, okay, execute each one of these steps in that pipeline. And what it does is each step says, here's the universe, and this is the pool of stocks that we're looking at, and each one filters it down. So each one has a single purpose. Here, filters it down by anything that's, has an event coming up in the next 30 days or the past 7 days. So that's one step, event check step, right? And that says, okay, you were at 20 and now you're at 7. 7 passed. 7 tickers survived. And then the next step is like, okay, do the condor scoring, and then only anything over 80% gets through. So you could be at 7, and then okay, now you're at 3. All right, do options chain. So those are all steps. So instead of what I told Claude was like, instead of updating the existing steps and using this helper thing, like, you know, exactly what our pipeline is for is like, let's just add another step that says, okay, out of the condors that are left that survived, are any of them below the composite score floor, and then just filter those out. So sometimes you do have to check it. You gotta like really dig into the code and like correct Claude. And a lot of times, most of the time the code is right. It's just maybe the structure or like maybe a preference. You know what I mean? Um, so yeah. So basically, that's what we got done today. That's what we discovered, that quality floor. So I think today's trade wouldn't have even happened. The UPS trade, and then that AMT trade wouldn't have happened either. So you can see like when you place a trade and then 2 days later you're already like in trouble. You got to exit. That's not a good trade. So this quality floor would have surfaced that, and we would have passed on it, and that would have mitigated some problems. So that's a lot of these trades. I bet if you look at our summary, like a lot of these trades would have been rejected by the new technology we have, the new filtration and checks that we have going on. So that's the beauty of watching this system grow and watching it change and add these additional mechanisms, right? So yeah, that's all I got for you today. But I just wanted you to kind of see what we got going on and what we surfaced through the debrief today. And yeah, hopefully you got some good insights, or maybe came up with some questions or had anything to ask. So yeah, just feel free to comment, like and subscribe if you want. Hopefully other people can see this and get some sort of benefit out of this. Even just like talking about these different topics, maybe it's a good conversation that you could have, or we could have, or you could have with other people, and it just kind of can spark that energy. So yeah, everything's out in the open. So yeah, feel free to ask anything, and we'll see you guys on the next trade tomorrow.